Welcome, Coyote fans. This is Paul Ferris, and this is my Coyote swap recap. Before I started the Coyotify project for my 2000 Mustang GT, I broke down basically what the car swap was going to look like, and I stayed pretty close to my original plans with some minor trips here and there. We're probably 95% done with the project now, and I'm just coming back with a video to describe basically the components top to bottom, front to back, so you get some idea what we're up against here. So this is my 2000 Mustang GT. I bought this car back in 2000, brand new, and it was, you know, of course, 100% stock for about 5 years. And you can see basically I've tried to keep it looking fairly stock in some ways, and in other ways, especially with those wires hanging out there, it's not. But basically the passenger airbag was removed as part of this swap. These airbags are not safe. They're actually, they can kill a child. And so it was not something I really cared to keep, and I needed the space, so I pulled it out, and I'm going to use the cover that was on the airbag to basically cover up that hole when I'm all done. In the meantime, I've been experimenting with wiring and have determined that for a new Edge Mustang 99 to 04, you do not need the Coyote speed dial, which is a $120 item from Ford Racing, or it might be a $150 item. Found that out tonight. Anyways, this is what the trunk is going to look like roughly. I mean, it's a mess right now, but you can see that I've got all my trunk space. That was one of my goals. Behind this panel here with these removable knobs that I made is the battery setup, which you can find in prior videos. But basically, I made took some regular furniture knobs that are made out of aluminum, and I drilled and tapped them so I could have some nice looking knobs to hold this trunk in and easily remove them if I wanted to. Let's see, what else is part of the breakdown. It's got a 94 to 97 fuel tank, which you can see under these doors. That's the sending unit for the fuel level. That's a hybrid fuel level sensor. I took the frame for the 94 to 97 fuel level sender, and I bolted my fuel level sensor for my 2000 into it, and it comes out through that hole. I've had to have it out before to check it. This is the wiring, or plumbing rather, for the end wiring for the fuel pump. So if I need to remove the fuel pump, I can remove the fuel pump that way. I do not need to drop the tank ever again, or at least not for a long time. I needed the fuel neck for 94 to 97, and if you do this swap, you end up with a return style fuel system, which means you can use this Stant capless fuel filler neck, which is it just screws in where the cap is. What else? Kept my shifter handle, but I ended up swapping in a BorgWarner T56 6-speed transmission. And of course, you can see I added a bunch of gauges. Those are all Autometer Z-Series gauges. I wanted to match the look and feel of the stock gauges as much as possible. It's got a Steeda short throw shifter kit. There's a Ford Racing, I also used a Ford Racing low weight flywheel. It's got a spec clutch with a Ford Racing aluminum drive shaft. The input spline count is higher than stock. It's supposed to handle a lot more torque. Of course, this is a Ford Racing Performance Parts Coyote Illuminator. It's basically a very similar motor to the normal Coyote motor. It does have the piston oil squirters, but unlike the normal Coyote motor, it has Boss 302 valve springs. I kept the stock Ford airbox and put that in place that came with the Boss control pack. This is an enormous pain in the ass to fit in here. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Getting this to fit was one of the hardest things in this whole thing, because I have a stock Hydro Boost setup, which is what this is basically a Hydro Boost mount that I made here for my Hydro Boost reservoir, and getting the plumbing for all that to work was a real piece of work. So just, you know, can't say enough rough things about it. A buddy of mine, Skylar Berkheimer, just ditched this whole thing and went with a cold air kit, and he was able to easily keep his stock reservoir and just mount it like on a bracket over there. And I have to add, he was able to keep his windshield wiper reservoir in the stock location, which I was not. There was no space for it. Instead, I moved mine to the left. This filler tube, eventually I'm going to have a setup right here that will look like there's something here, but in effect it will be just a black box, and the filler will run into that black box, and the top of the cap will be showing. It'll look kind of Japanese-ish. I also plan on putting the stock engine cover back on the Coyote motor. I have one that's painted yellow and black and looks really pretty, but it won't fit underneath the stock hood. So the stock hood collides in some rather key locations and just prevents, you know, the cover from being used. And I have to add, this cap collides, you can see it, with the stock hood, and there's metal under here. I'd actually have to saw on some things to make that fit. My guess is it would cut right through the hood. There's just no space. This motor was not meant to go in here, and you know, when you start cramming things in, you just find these things out. You can see my Phoenix fuel regulator that came with the high flow fuel kit. This is the this is an elbow I installed on it to mount the fuel pressure gauge sender. So basically, this is a high flow fuel setup. Unlike most Coyote swaps that you'll see, my car actually has the factory Ford shorty headers that came on this motor. I basically made the body fit that setup. I've got a stock Ford clutch cable with the aftermarket adjuster. I believe Summit makes that adjuster. I also have an aluminum clutch quadrant. I think that one's also made by Summit or sold by Summit. I can't remember which, but I got it at Summit. What else is part of this swap? I used the stock radiator. Some of the stock hosing for the radiator. I plan on cleaning all this up and making it look pretty here over the next few weeks. The car will be in some shows this summer. I don't want to look grimy under the hood. I'll get all that straightened out. These camber caster plates are coming off, and I'm putting a set of 4-bolt Maximum Motorsport camber caster plates on. I'm going to reinstall my shock tower brace across the top of the motor. That's going to require some modification of that brace to make it fit across the top of the motor and the cover. What else? The wiring, I've done a lot of wiring as part of this project, and a lot of it's documented online. I'll do my best to share if anybody has any questions. The rest of this stuff is stuff that came across from when I had the car before. You can see I have a Sony head unit hooked up to, I believe they're JBL speakers, and I've got a sub in the trunk. It's a slimline sub, and I'm going to basically find a way to hide that underneath some of these, some space underneath these areas somewhere. I'll figure it out. It may protrude slightly. We'll see. Interior's mostly stock with some yellow paint. Probably going to have that stuff repainted and put a double din cover inside that interior there sometime in the next year or so. Man. Mach 1 grill delete and chin spoiler, that's kind of stock, but you know, people In other words, a lot of people do that mod. I have a set of halo projector heads that I stuck on the car a couple years back, and I'm pretty happy with those. They're 3000K, so they're kind of yellow just like the rest of the car. There's a theme of black and yellow in case you haven't noticed it. There's a lot of custom paint, little things that most people wouldn't notice, but I do. Yellow caliper paint with black brackets. This fuel door is definitely not stock. That's been on the car for probably a decade. What else? Blacked out brake light cover. Spoiler's black. Had it painted a long time ago. Those are Steeda knockoff rims. They're staggered, 10-inch in the rear, 9-inch in the front. I'm going to need to do something about these rear tires, though. I may just stick wider tires in the back for now, because I need more rubber. I'm thinking I'm just going to go up to like 305s, or maybe even 315s on 10-inch rims. I've got to find out if that's common. What else? Man, I've got temperature sensors in the transmission and the differential, if you can see it, and a water sensor, so I know exactly how cold and warm everything is. Anyways, that's my breakdown of this particular moment in time. Again, you can find all about this car online at coyotify.com/WP for the blog. Just go to the blog section. Go to coyotify.com and go to the blog, COYOTIFY. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've got, which I'm trying to post regularly, like every week now, because the car is coming together, and this is the part that people really enjoy the most. It's just been, you know, a lot of work, and it's the little things that matter. And a lot of people seem to be interested in Coyote swaps and Fox chassis cars, and that's what this is. Shout out to my buds Matthew Overbeek and Dustin Milbrandt. Thanks for all your help. This car wouldn't be anywhere near as far along without your help. And also to Skylar Berkheimer, who's been following and doing some definitely improvements to the idea. And just tune in. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you. Bye.